sorry.
Okay.
1 second.
Let's see if we're not doing well.
Oh.
All right, Jay, do you hear me?
You bet.
Derek, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just setting the phone here in the middle of the table. You're in the meeting now.
Thanks, guys.
Should be another one coming up.
Sure.
We're live now, so you should know. Because I mean, I'll close on.
Is it against open meeting law to start early? No, I'm just kidding.
We're live. so
We are
we're
live.
testing.
And it is, I mean, it's, by that clock, it's 5, so.
Perfect.
D,
He is, yeah, he's going to be here. He's, yeah, just like right.
okay, we'll do FFA
We're
first.
good to go.
We're good?
Yep.
All right. Welcome to our special board meeting. Let's start with a pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 I'm good.
All right, we do not have any signed in visitors.
You want to just make a note that they're,
Yes. And Jay and Derek are joining us via phone, just so, sorry, thank you. Thank you for calling in as well.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to our discussion items. Let's start with discussion item A.
all right, Mr. Hollinger is going to talk about the FFA trip.
Perfect.
Want me to stand closer so you can hear me?
Oh, yeah, that would be perfect.
Okay, and I'm sorry I'm doing this off my phone. My Wi-Fi wasn't working on my computer all of a sudden. So yes, the FFA would like to go to the national convention. That is October, the convention itself starts on October 23rd. They're going to go slightly early to do some educational activities, touring Churchill Downs in Kentucky, the Corvette factory, things that they thought could kind of go along with ag and ag mechanics and, all the things involved with FFA. So they are taking 5 students. They have 4 chaperones. 2 of those are faculty members who are going with them. There will be students competing at the national convention as well. They are specifically competing in the nursery landscape contest, and that's at the Indiana State Fairgrounds.
Cool. Anybody questions?
And this is funded through FFA.
Yes, so they've broken it down for me. Idaho FFA donated $1,000, Middleton FFA $1,000. They have an an FFA alumni that has donated money towards it, $2,750. And all those donations will cover the student portion of the trip.
Fantastic.
Cool. Anybody else?
No.
While we're waiting for Mr. Weiniger to come for the other, do we want Mr. Hollinger to talk a little bit about the process for getting these?
Oh, yeah, that'd be
Question.
perfect. Please do.
Yeah, so I need to apologize at the FFA's behalf. They did have this in time for the previous board meeting. There was a filing mistake. So this didn't get down to the district in time when it should have. We have corrected that, and that won't happen. It was just placed in the wrong place where I didn't see it to sign off in a timely manner. So that FFA didn't do anything wrong on their end. That was on our end with a filing mistake. So we've fixed that. We were more cognizant of that. I know that there's been a few other trips that have been brought to you that haven't come in as much of a timely manner. I'd appreciate any feedback from you on timelines of things when you would like that. I can easily emphasize this with my staff of getting them in earlier. I know sometimes, like I was actually just talking to our student council advisor, and they had plans to go to the State Student Council Conference. That's November 4th and 5th, and they'll sign up for that. So that will be on the next board meeting, but is that enough time for something like that? Or I think ideally you'd probably want it a couple months in advance.
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No.
I was gonna say, I mean, it's not on the agenda to officially make any motions and stuff for that, but I think when we're talking about it, we have to take into consideration a lot of things. Number one is finances of people that want to participate and may not be able to.
Yeah.
Number two is the ability for people, if they've got teenagers that are watching kids and things, to cover all of that stuff. So the earlier the better. I mean, I know we just started school in end of August, so I mean, these things, if there are opportunities, we should probably be looking at them at the end of the school year to kind of line up for the next school
Well,
year.
yeah,
To just have a
if it's a
list
big
of
enough trip,
potential
right?
things, right?
Well, and maybe get better airfare prices
I
if they
agree.
come
Yeah,
in
yeah.
a lot earlier.
Definitely.
I mean, a plan so kids know what they have to put forth,
Mhm, mhm.
and parents as
Yeah.
well.
Well, and I think an example with and not that the FFA got it in more than a month in advance, but they knew that they were going to FFA Nationals when they qualified
Fair, yeah.
for FFA Nationals.
Mhm.
So that trip request could have come in at any point during those times. Now, maybe, and I think there's a balance there because there are details that they're still working out. Some of these fund donations may not have been there early on, but maybe they came in June or whatever. I think it's the biggest thing is making sure that the board has an opportunity, if they see something that they have a concern or question about, to be able to go back to the group and bring it back to the board prior to the trip
Yes. Yeah.
occurring. And I think that's probably the
Yes.
balance you need to
Yeah,
find.
so I would think if that's the case, in my mind, coming in, I'm thinking, well, you'd probably want to do it 2 board meetings in advance then. At least.
Yeah,
If
So
you
you
can,
could come back.
if you can, that would be ideal.
Right.
I just thought there was something already in place where it said in the policy that we get, that they had to have it in and
Tell me the process that you do
Yeah.
with the field
Yeah,
trip.
so we have that form. Do you all see that form?
Mhm.
So.
The FFA's trip has that all laid out.
Yeah, so they fill that form out. They get it from our secretary, who stores those. Get that. It goes into essentially my mailbox, and then I look it over. I say, okay, this looks okay to me, and then send it down to the district, and then it goes on your agenda.
Okay,
So
perfect.
there's times that I'll look at it and I'll say, I'm not sure about this. Can you give me some more detail? But it's a fairly cursory glance when I look.
Okay.
were we going to talk about the yearbook
Yes.
in terms of,
In terms of fundraising and how that would go and how they gather the funds for the
Well,
specific
that and-
students?
just her comment about they have all this money?
I think what we were planning to address that in the October.
In the October
meeting.
meeting, okay,
I think that's worthwhile to have the
Okay.
actual
I do
on
too.
the agenda
Yeah.
conversation.
okay,
Yeah, she's planning to help out.
okay.
Any other?
Mm, Thank you.
So I guess I just say on my end, I will give them the guidance, to my staff, the guidance, 2 board meetings in advance. So it's essentially, it equals about 2 months in advance. There may be times where that doesn't happen, and I apologize, like that student council one. Now that one, they're just going to Twin Falls. It's one night. It's not like a huge trip. But I think for the most part, we should be able to do that. And I haven't emphasized that with my staff. So I think as I do, they'll clean it up and they'll do a better job. of
How
getting it in.
far ahead of these things? This one's, the DECA one is in Moscow. Not Twin?
Mhm.
Okay. How far ahead do we know of these things? Like, is it possible to even get a calendar of potential stuff for the year? Or
I don't know for
or do they
that
just
for
pop
certain.
Yeah, that would probably be school year, right?
Yeah,
Beginning of the school year?
it kind of just depends. Like we're pretty frustrated with the student council one because they've kind of bounced it around and like it opens up to some people to be able to sign up and you don't know if you can actually register or not for it. So, but then I know some of the groups are more organized, like the FFA one's pretty organized. And so we know that one pretty well in advance. So it truly kind of just varies depending on, and sometimes it's just opportunity that arises too, right? Like when you qualify, and I can't speak to every situation, but
Yeah, sure.
yeah, we can definitely do a better job of getting it to you in a more timely manner.
And I look down here. I just have a question. Do you happen to know why it's in Louisville and Indianapolis?
So
They're right next to you. Well,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
Indianapolis, but
hold on, let me.
I was
If
just
I can-
curious because it says
There's-
and.
some of the educational opportunities they're taking advantage of while they're in that part of the country that are in Louisville. So they'll start there in Louisville, but then the
Oh.
actual competition
That's what I
is
thought
in
was Indiana.
Indianapolis.
They're gonna go
Okay.
visit
And
some
so
things
they'll-
and learn some.
So they're just
That's actually
taking
pretty
advantage
cool
of those,
opportunity.
like
Well-
Churchill Downs and things like
Yeah.
that, that.
it's a really long skip.
That- So they'll do that part of the trip first and then move on to the
Okay.
national competition.
I just wondered of why it was in both
Kind of like this happens.
Right.
cities and states, but now I understand. Thank you.
And so, yeah, it's all within driving distance from this one.
Do you want to take a minute and talk anything, Decca, that you might want to share?
You can't.
Do you think he's on?
You might. I'll get the sheet.
Okay,
Yeah,
sounds
'cause
good. Do you have questions about
Really
DECA?
calm.
It's I mean, I assume you know what DECA is. It's one of our student organizations similar to FFA.
Like business, yeah.
Yes, yeah, business. So, group of our students, and I can't remember what we qualified in for that one.
So do you want me to roll through the details of that one
Sure.
for the group? So it's at University of Idaho in Moscow. This is the DECA boot camp for the leadership in DECA program. We've got 24 students that'll be involved. There are 2 chaperones. The trip is 1.5 days. They'll miss 1 school day. The total cost of the trip is $1,312, and the cost for individual students is $15.
Are they gonna take a bus?
Yeah, because 24 students and only 2
Yeah, that
chaperones.
was my only, that seems like, what ratio of students?
Do we have policy on that?
Okay.
We,
Like high school, or would you like
Some
to
of it
think?
depends on the gender of the students as well. or
Yes.
Different rooming accommodations or just different scenarios, and how their rooming, what their room board looks like.
I think if I were recommending to the board, it would be to recommend to Mr. Weiniger that there be 1 female chaperone added, because both of the chaperones right now are male, and there are female students that are going to be participating.
No, that's
Yeah.
good.
I think then that puts you at a ratio of 1 to 8, which is a more reasonable ratio for chaperones.
Seems like that'd be better. Because trying to steer 2 chaperones steering 24 students is like herding cats.
Just depends on the
Yeah.
students. There's a lot of variables there.
But I think that I would like to see somebody.
Yeah.
Mr. Wenger thought this was at 6 for some reason.
Okay.
No, it's totally good.
Normally is.
It normally is. So any more questions? I think we're good to move on.
Pretty cool
Okay.
opportunity.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
All right, let's move on to action items. I would entertain a motion. FFA, go ahead.
I make a motion that we approve the FFA out-of-state trip to both Louisville, Kentucky and Indianapolis, Indiana.
Second,
Good. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Derek, are you there?
Aye.
Oh, he's,
Got it. Thank you. All right, let's do DECA trip.
I make a motion that we approve the DECA overnight trip to Moscow, Idaho with the provision that we add 1 female, additional female chaperone.
I'll
Second.
second that.
Thanks, Jay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you.
Okay.
I entertain a motion
I will make a motion that, per executive, or to move into executive session as per section 74-206-1B of Idaho Code to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent.
I second that.
Roll call.
Thank you.
Trustee Moore,
Yes.
trustee Dempsey,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes,
trustee Powell,
Yes.
trustee Clark,
Yes.
thank you. Thanks, Johnny.
Thank you.
Thanks.